E equals mc squared. Does that sound familiar? Yes. It's probably one of the most famous formulas in all of math and science. Einstein's formula for relativity. E equals mc squared. We know that one. There are other formulas that maybe we struggle with in life, right? The circumference of a circle. Anyone remember that one? 2 pi r. The area of a circle, pi r squared. Pythagoras' theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm not preaching about math today, but I want you to start thinking about formulas, because there are formulas for all aspects of our life. There are even ethical formulas. Some call it the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. There's even a new one. Maybe you haven't heard of it. It's called the platinum rule. Treat others as they want to be treated. And I know some of you like to cook. Have you ever noticed how a good recipe, or any recipe for that matter, is pretty much a formula? So much of this plus this multiplied by medium heat or 350 degrees or whatever, and you get this. So many aspects of our life are formulas. I think if we're going to understand the readings today, the parable that Jesus told, the profound words of the first reading from Sirach, if we're going to understand what's going on, maybe it's helpful to think about this as a formula. Put very simply, you will receive mercy to the same extent, to the same degree, to the same amount, the same measure as you give mercy. So frequently we wrestle with the idea of God's mercy, God's judgment. How am I going to be viewed by God, judged by God? How are other people going to be viewed by God, judged by God? These are interesting questions, important questions. And today we get this formula. It's very simple. As you forgive, as you show mercy, so you shall receive mercy. Put another way, in the Gospel of Luke, Jesus says, the measure with which you measure will be measured back to you. The way in which you love, the way in which you forgive will be offered to you. The warning, though, is this: the way in which you harbor hatred or grudges or enmity or anger or hatred or cruelty is the way in which you'll receive that back. Think about what we heard in the gospel. Here, Peter is trying to express to Jesus how much he's coming to understand the gospel. And we miss this because we don't quite understand that at the time of Jesus, numbers very often had symbolic significance. So the number 7 in Hebrew culture was representative of the idea of perfection. The number 7 represented perfection. So if something was 7, like 7 days in a week, the perfection of creation, that actually means something, by the way. So Peter comes to Jesus and says, Lord, I get it. I'm figuring this out. I know I'm slow. I miss things at times, but I get it now. I'm supposed to forgive my brother a perfect amount of times. And it's funny because Jesus, rather than saying to Peter, oh, you're right, thanks, man, you're getting it, good for you. He says, no, not quite yet. Not 7 times, not a perfect amount of times, but 77 times. An abundance of 7s, an abundance of perfection. And then he tells this parable. There is both a consolation and a challenge here. Because on one hand, We can take some comfort in the idea that the more we dedicate our lives to being kind and merciful, compassionate and loving to others, particularly those who have sinned against us, our enemies, our adversaries, the people we don't like, the measure to which we care for them, love them, we can take some consolation in the idea that we know that God's mercy is trustworthy because we're trying so hard. But the challenge is this: if we refuse to do this difficult work of being merciful from our hearts, again, this isn't like the superficial mercy of, I forgive you, it's cool, it's okay, but not really. That's not what he's talking about. If we actually get into the real heartbreak, the difficulty, the soul searching of forgiving someone from our hearts, if we do that, then we know we will receive an abundance of mercy from the Lord. If we refuse to do that, if we hold on to grudges, if we remember and refuse to let go of the times that people have offended us or hurt us or done something against us, if we cling to that, then the challenge is we may find ourselves in trouble. Please remember what Jesus taught us in the Our Father. Remember that last part of the Our Father, because it's a summation of everything I'm saying to you this morning. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us.